Fresh data is showing Gen Xers' retirement savings now surpass baby boomers. That's good news. If you're behind with your retirement savings, what do you need to do to catch up? I've got that and more coming up. My name's Mike Bernard. I'm the host of the Wise Money Show. I'm also one of the certified financial planners right here at Korhorn Financial Group. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and smash that thumbs up button. Gen Xers are in the spotlight, financial spotlight, a lot these days. Why? Because a few different reasons, but primarily Gen Xers were born between 1965 and 1980, and that means the oldest Gen Xer is turning age 60 next year. They're in the home stretch of retirement savings, and baby boomers are born from 1946 to 1964, and therefore the youngest is turning 60 this year. For the most part, baby boomers are into retirement and still retiring each and every day. And here's the thing, Gen Xers, sometimes considered the forgotten generation. They are the first generation to see, they entered the workforce when pensions were the primary part of your retirement. I started my career and was taught the three-legged stool. Hopefully you haven't heard that geeky financial acronym or financial saying, not acronym, where it was your retirement, this stable retirement stool that you'll be able to sit on is going to be Social Security, your pension, and then your own savings. And so that's the mentality. That was the approach that Gen Xers started their career in. And then over time, one of those stools, or one of the legs of those stools, got ripped off. So that the pension income and pension as a retirement savings essentially gone. And this generation has had to figure that out, and there's been lots of data showing that they have they're undersaved and are not ready to retire. And so that's why it's important to see this latest news from Fidelity. Ultimately, good news, guys, good news, and that the average 401k balance, at least per Fidelity, largest 401k and retirement plan provider out there, the average 401k balance for Gen Xers now is, I'm going to say, at the same level. They're saying on average it's surpassed baby boomers by $200. That's nothing, that's a rounding error, but over $500,000 on average. Now, for many people, that might not be the right amount to save up, right? You've got to look at your own 5-factor retirement plan, your own financial situation to see how much you need to save up in order to be on track to retire. So whether you are in this Gen X generation or you're looking to retire at some point, what do you need to do in this sort of home stretch to make sure that you are on track or to get on track with your retirement savings? Number one, you need to build out that 5-factor retirement plan. I talk about it all the time, but in your 30s, you're making assumptions about these 5 factors, but there's so much time ahead of you. It's inevitable that those assumptions are going to change. But by your mid-40s and into your 50s, you've got to have that 5-factor retirement plan. You have to dial it in. You have to revisit it on at least an annual basis. And so for these Gen Xers, again, the youngest are turning 60 next year. If you haven't built out that 5-factor retirement plan, you need to. You need to have visibility, that clarity as to where you stand in relation to your retirement goals. There's still time enough for you to recalibrate, make some adjustments, change some of your approach to get on track. So those 5 factors are: what age do you want to be done? And then what's your life expectancy? So essentially, how long will retirement last? What do you plan on spending in retirement? And so this is just your base spending, but yes, also health insurance, also taxes, also vacations, those sorts of things. Whether you'll have a mortgage or not, you've got to look at your spending. And this is why I would say in your 30s, it's going to be very hard to anticipate what your spending habits will be like in retirement. But by the time you get to your mid to late 40s or into your 50s, late 50s, you'll have a better idea. It'll be clearer for you to say, yeah, we're on track to pay the mortgage off by the time we retire. And so our net take home right now is X. And when you add in inflation, when you add in Medicare, you're able to approximate it better. So second factor is spending. Third is income. What sources of retirement income will you have? Likely you will not have a pension. Some still do, especially government workers, but likely you will not have a pension. So how will you optimize Social Security, and will you have any other retirement income sources? Fourth, how much do you have saved up for retirement, and how much are you saving? How much do you need to save? That's the fourth factor. And then the fifth is, how much risk are you comfortable taking with your investments? And not only while you're still working, but during retirement, are you still comfortable taking some risk? Do you want to shift it to very little risk? So those are the 5 factors. And then when worked together, they're all interrelated. And when worked together with your CFP, they'll be able to look and say, you are on track. You're running a stress test with those 5 factors, your confidence rate is high that you're on track to retire. Or your confidence rate is low, you've got to make some trade-offs. You've got to consider working an extra year or two, saving a little bit more, finding a way to spend a little bit less, or get some other retirement income. Your CFP is going to be able to help you stress test and analyze that to let you know if you're on track and have a confident retirement, or whether you need to make some adjustments. In the last 5 certainly, but last 10, 15 years of your working career, you've got to dial that in, build that plan, monitor it so you know that you're on track. Second, obviously a large component of that is saving aggressively for retirement. Even in that home stretch, the final 10 or 15 years of retirement, saving at least 15% towards retirement will really help you get there and maximize that home stretch. For my folks, and we've seen this for many people, that when you finally reach that empty nester stage, which I think is a little bit trickier these days with prolonged adolescence and that sort of thing, but when you finally reach that transition, that home stretch right before retirement, some of the expenses that you've had for the previous several years, a couple decades while you were raising kids, start falling off. And I know for my folks, this is a long time ago, maybe bad example, but when I started my career as a CFP and my folks came and said, okay, now time to start really narrowing in retirement, where do we stand and what do we need to do? They were saving about 10% towards retirement. And I challenged them and said, what's preventing you from saving at least 15%? And originally it was sort of these eyes open like, wow, that's a lot. We've never saved that much. And thankfully their approach was, I think we can do it. Let's try it and see if it works. And they absolutely did it and didn't see any trade-offs in their present financial position with their cash flow, simply because my brother and I, we were out of the house and those expenses had sort of fallen off. And so instead of just some lifestyle creep or extra cash floating around in the checking account, they saved it towards retirement and were able to get to retirement even faster. So second thing that you need to do in this sort of home stretch is save aggressively for retirement, ideally 15%. And finally, what use is all of that preparation if you're going to end up having too much of your hard-earned dollars going to Uncle Sam? So the third thing that you need to do in this home stretch of retirement savings is make sure that you've got a tax shelter strategy, and that tax shelter strategy is appropriate for you. Should you be funding your retirement plans pre-tax or Roth? Should you max out pre-tax your 401k, but do Roth, max out your Roth IRA? Should you be doing backdoor Roth? Should you be doing Roth conversions? What about funding your HSA and treating that like a retirement account? You've got to look at your tax shelters available to you, looking at your tax picture right now, and then as part of that 5-factor retirement plan, projecting out what your tax picture and income is going to look like out there in retirement to see, well, are you going to be in a lower tax bracket out there in the future than you are right now? If it's expected to be the same and we've got this mountain of debt and these large deficits that we're running, should you do Roth right now just in case they introduce new taxes out there in the future, which is what they've been doing, or if they raise tax rates, i.e. letting the Tax Cut and Jobs Act tax laws sunset, that sort of thing. So you've got to have a proactive tax plan. We call it a tax shelter strategy, where you're looking at your tax picture today, what your tax picture is going to look like in retirement, and strategizing to make sure that you keep more of your hard-earned resources and don't have too much slipping through your fingers going to Uncle Sam. So all in all, good news for Gen Xers in their preparation towards retirement. These last 5, 10, 15 years are crucial. So make sure you're working with your CFP. You've got that 5-factor plan, you're saving aggressively, and got the appropriate tax strategy as well. Your CFP is going to help you with all that as they're doing comprehensive financial planning. So work with your CFP on that. If you don't have a CFP on your team, contact one on my team. Find us online, Korhorn.com. That's Korhorn with K, wisemoneyshow.com. You can find us there as well, or send us an email, info@korhorn.com. All right, there you have it. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.